No, I have heard people say that it's like super healthy. I'm disgusted by it. It's really gross. No.
Sister Wives courtroom drama, Meri Brown strikes back. It began with a voice that had been silent for far too long. A voice buried beneath years of submission, restraint, and carefully practiced silence. But not anymore. Not today. Inside the hushed courtroom, the echo of footsteps reverberated like a heartbeat. Every head turned as Meri Brown rose from her seat and made her way toward the witness stand. No cameras were permitted in the room, but had there been? Every lens in America would have been fixed on her, the woman who had once sat quietly in the shadow of polygamy, now walking into the full glare of justice. She wore a fitted navy blazer, her blonde hair swept back into a no-nonsense knot. In her hand, she clutched a thick folder, edges worn. Filled with documents, her evidence, her history, her years of endurance inked in black and white. Her face was calm, but her eyes told another story: fire, pain, and resolve. She did not flinch when she passed Robyn Brown sitting beside Kody, her expression tight, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. Nor did Meri waver when she met Kody's eyes, those same eyes that had once promised her equality, family, and faith. She walked straight to the stand, adjusted the microphone slightly lower, and looked toward the judge. "Your Honor," she began, her voice steady though it trembled faintly beneath the weight of years unspoken. "I stand here today to reclaim what was owed to me, not just as a wife, but as a woman, as a mother, as a human being." She paused, locking eyes with Kody, who sat rigid, arms crossed, jaw clenched tight. "I want what's mine," she continued, her voice rising. "And I'm not backing down." A low ripple of whispers swept through the courtroom gallery. For years, the world had watched Meri Brown on Sister Wives, the loyal first wife. The one who stayed as her marriage crumbled under the fluorescent glare of reality TV. They had seen her heartbreak, her isolation, her ill-fated catfishing scandal, her endless attempts to keep a dying family together. But today was different. Today was about Coyote Pass, 12 acres of Arizona land that had once been a dream, a promise of equal homes, equal futures. Kody's grand family legacy. But promises, as Meri had learned, were easy to make and easier to break. Behind Meri sat Janelle Brown, arms folded, lips drawn into a thin, determined line. Time had changed them both, but one thing remained: the fire of betrayal that burned bright behind their eyes. They were no longer sister wives. They were allies, women reclaiming their worth. The judge, a calm silver-haired woman with a reputation for fairness, nodded slightly. "Mrs. Brown, you may proceed." Meri unfolded the first sheet of paper from her folder. "This," she said, holding it up, "is a payment statement dated the 14th of August, 2018. It shows a deposit from my personal business, Count, into the Brown Family Trust. This trust was created to finance the Coyote Pass property." She took a measured breath. "Yet my name does not appear anywhere on the deed." She lifted another page. "This is an email from our real estate broker confirming my investment interest." Her tone hardened. "And this," she raised a third paper. Trembling slightly in her hand is a duplicate of our show contract signed by all the wives, stating that income from Sister Wives would be used to build homes for every member of the family. Her lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman in a tan suit, gave her a small nod of encouragement. "When Kody and I divorced legally in 2014, Meri continued, it was only to allow him to adopt Robyn's children. I did it in good faith, believing our spiritual marriage, our covenant, would remain intact. I believed we were still a family, still equals." She turned her gaze toward Kody, her voice cutting through the silence. "That was a lie." Kody's jaw tightened. Robyn shifted uneasily beside him, her eyes darting down to the floor. "I spent 30 years in that family," Meri said, her tone low, powerful. "I raised a child. I helped build the very show that funded this land. And now I'm being told quietly behind the scenes that I don't deserve a single acre." She gripped the edge of the stand. "I surrendered my legal marriage. I surrendered my place. But I will not surrender my dignity." Behind her, Janelle leaned forward, murmuring under her breath, "Me too." The judge watched silently as Meri inhaled and looked back up. "This isn't about real estate. It's about integrity, keeping promises, not allowing one man to rewrite history for his own gain. The judge nodded slowly. Mrs. Brown, are you saying that the Coyote Pass property was intended to be divided equally among the 4 wives? Yes, Your Honor. That was the understanding: verbal, emotional, financial, and contractual. When did you learn your name was not included on the deed? Late 2023, Meri replied, when Janelle and I compared documents. And what did you do then? I confronted Kody. He said he worked harder and deserved more. But that's not what we agreed. We agreed to share it equally because we were a family. The judge took a note while the bailiff presented the evidence to the clerk. Then Kody's lawyer rose, his tone icy. Your Honor, Mrs. Brown's statements are emotionally charged. She was a spiritual participant, not a financial contributor. Mr. Brown bore the financial burden. Meri's lawyer immediately stood. With respect, that's misleading. The entire family operated under one financial umbrella: shared show income, joint accounts, and collective business earnings. Mr. Brown blurred those lines deliberately. Mrs. Brown was not a spiritual ornament. She was an unpaid partner in a multi-million-dollar enterprise that funded Coyote Pass. The judge raised an eyebrow, making another note. Outside reporters had already gathered on the courthouse steps. Whispers of the Brown family trial were spreading like wildfire. Inside, Kody glared at Meri, but this time she did not shrink. She didn't look at him with love or hope. She looked at him like an adversary. She had lost everything, and that made her fearless. For Meri Brown, Coyote Pass wasn't just land, it was her last piece of belief, her last fragment of belonging. In the consultation room afterwards, Meri and Janelle sat side by side, their lawyers arranging maps and exhibits across a wide table. A large printed map of Coyote Pass lay between them for sections, for promised futures, none of which bore their names. Look, Janelle said quietly, tracing the map with her finger. Not 1 square inch belongs to us. Nothing. Meri stared, her face pale but composed. She had known this for months. The betrayal wasn't sudden. It was a slow, deliberate erosion. She remembered those early years in Flagstaff, sitting by the fire pit while Kody outlined his vision. We'll each have a home, he'd said proudly. Close, but not too close. It'll be our legacy. Robyn had smiled. Christine had hesitated. Janelle had asked about costs, and Meri, desperate to hold on to something real, had believed him. That belief became her prison. Then came the discovery, 2023. Janelle had gone to settle a property tax issue and uncovered the truth. I asked to see the deed, Janelle told her. Only 2 names appeared: Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. She laughed bitterly. When I confronted him, he said he paid the most, so he should own the most. Meri's eyes filled with disbelief. He said the same thing to me. Janelle's lips twisted. Of course he did. It was a pattern: control, deceit, revision. Kody had always moved the goalposts, promising equality but writing the rules himself. He used faith, love, and family vision as currency. Even after her public humiliation in the catfishing scandal, Meri stayed. She believed that loyalty would eventually be rewarded. I kept telling myself, she whispered, voice trembling in the courthouse hallway, that if I just waited, he'd come back. That I still mattered. But he didn't, and she didn't, at least not to him. Now, in the quiet aftermath, their lawyers leaned forward. This isn't just about property, said Meri's attorney. It's about fiduciary duty. If he made a promise, then restructured ownership behind the scenes, that's constructive fraud. Janelle's lawyer nodded. Considering they shared income and accounts, that establishes trust. If that trust was violated, we can prove intent to defraud. Meri looked down at a 2021 land transfer filing. It showed Kody transferring Plot 3 into joint tenancy with Robyn Brown. No mention of the others. No signatures. No warning. Just Kody and Robyn. When questioned later, Kody justified it smugly. I paid for 92% of the land, he said. The rest promised to contribute, but didn't. I needed control. But his numbers didn't hold, because the money, every penny that built that land, had come from sister wives. from interviews, appearances, and contracts born of the women's stories. Meri's lawyer leaned in sharply. "So, Mr. Brown, you say you paid 92%. From whose earnings? The show that required these women to participate?" Kody hesitated. They were involved, but they didn't get equal payout. "And who decided that?" Kody paused. No answer. The silence in the room said everything. Answer. The silence in the room said everything. Sister Wives Courtroom DRAMA Part 2. The emails that shattered the family. Kody Brown had built his kingdom on the backs of women who believed they were coners, partners in faith, family, and future. But as the court session dragged deeper into testimony, the illusion crumbled. What was once presented as unity now lay exposed as manipulation. To Kody, those women had never been equals. They were tenants, temporary, disposable, replaceable pieces in a story that always centered on him. And at the dark heart of it all stood Robyn Brown, the woman long painted as innocent, standing in the shadows of the very empire she helped secure. Meri's legal team had uncovered emails, correspondence between Meerab and the real estate attorney handling the Coyote Pass filings. The courtroom fell silent as the first one was read aloud. "We don't want the other wives to make things messy. Better if we finalize everything before they notice." Email from Robyn Brown to Attorney H. 2021. The defense was quick to interject, arguing that Robyn's words were taken out of context, that she had merely meant to keep the process simple. But Meri's lawyer was relentless. If that were true, she countered sharply, then why were the other wives never informed? Why were no meetings held? Why was Mrs. Brown's tax liability still tied to land she didn't legally own? There were no answers because there were none that wouldn't reveal the truth. A flash of memory weeks before the case went to trial, Meri had driven out alone to Coyote Pass. The Arizona wind bit cold against her coat as she stood at the edge of the sprawling property. Pine needles cracked beneath her boots, the vastness around her echoing with ghosts of promises. She remembered standing in the same spot years ago. Back in 2018, Kody had gestured toward the horizon, his voice rich with enthusiasm. "There'll be a porch here, a big one. You'll have the best view, Meri." She had smiled then, imagining coffee mornings on that porch. Grandchildren running through the grass, maybe even reconciliation. Now there was only wind and silence. The dream had become dust. Meri stooped, picked up a small rock, and rolled it between her fingers. "If I don't fight for this, these stones will be all I ever receive." That night, under the black Arizona sky, she made her decision. It was time to stop waiting and start contending. The courtroom returns to silence back in court, tension pressed like glass, thin, fragile, ready to shatter. The judge called a short recess, yet no one moved. Every person in that room could sense what was coming, something irreversible. When the clerk approached and said softly, "Miss Brown, please take the stand," a hush rolled through the gallery like a wave. Meri rose. She smoothed the collar of her blouse, exhaled, and walked forward, every step deliberate. Kody's eyes tracked her, stone-faced. Robyn fidgeted, whispering urgently to their lawyer. But both watched as the woman they had once underestimated stood tall beneath the courtroom lights. "Meri's testimony, Your Honor," she began, her voice clear. "I spent 30 years in a family where silence was called loyalty, where patience was preached as obedience." She paused, the tremor in her tone betraying the weight of her truth. "I was told to wait, that things would even out, that faith would fix everything. But waiting doesn't build houses. Waiting doesn't get your name on a deed. Waiting doesn't protect your rights." The courtroom was silent but electric. She lifted a thick folder of documents, 40 exhibits, meticulously arranged, bank transfers, emails, signed show contracts, and TLC correspondence. "This," she said, holding up one page, "is the 2018 agreement signed by every family member, confirming that all TLC income and business revenue would be invested equally into developing Coyote Pass." The judge nodded. "Admitted as Exhibit 17A. Meri continued, her voice gaining strength. We were told each parcel would belong to one of us, that it was our legacy, our future homes. But in 2023, I discovered every acre had been transferred behind our backs into the names of Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. A collective gasp rippled through the gallery. Even the judge leaned forward, expression tightening. Meri's attorney stepped up with the next evidence printed emails. Robyn and I are the only ones seriously investing in the land. The others can build later if they still wish to be involved. Kody Brown to Coyote Pass attorney. February 2021. I believe it's better we finalize everything before the wives start asking questions. Less drama down the line. Robyn Brown to same attorney, March 2021, the courtroom erupted in murmurs. Kody blinked rapidly, his confidence cracking. That's taken out of context. He snapped, slamming his palm on the table. The judge's gavel struck hard. Mr. Brown, you will remain silent unless addressed. The explosion of truth, Meri steadied herself. Your Honor, I was never notified of any deed transfer. My income from my boutique and television work went into our joint accounts. Yet I continued to pay property taxes for land I didn't even own. She turned her gaze directly to Kody. Because I trusted you. He looked away. Meri raised another document. Here, a payment of $18,200 from my LuLaRoe account. Directly into the joint fund for Coyote Pass. I was told this guaranteed my plot. She set it down firmly. And I have 6 more payments like this. A hush fell again. Now I'm being told I didn't pay enough. That I wasn't invested. But I did invest, Your Honor. My time, my labor, my name, my dignity. All for a man who made me invisible. Reporters scribbled furiously. Even the gallery fans, family, journalists sat frozen, eyes locked on the woman who had once been the quietest of them all. The judge leaned forward. Mrs. Brown, to clarify, you claim there were mutual, verbal, written, and financial agreements that were violated. Yes, Your Honor. And you believe Mr. Brown and Mrs. Robyn Brown acted in bad faith? Yes. And what remedy are you seeking? Meri didn't hesitate. I want what's mine. Either they buy me out at market value or we split that land exactly as promised. Kody slumped in his chair. Kody takes the stand when his turn came. He mounted the witness stand like a man walking into his own undoing. His posture was defensive, his tone brittle. Did you inform Mrs. Brown of the deed transfer? The judge asked directly. No, he muttered. Why not? I didn't think she was interested anymore. She'd become distant, unsure if she even wanted to build there. Did she make financial contributions? She might have. I don't know. Meri's lawyer stood. Let me refresh your memory. She slid the payment records across the table. Kody scanned them, jaw tight. Yes, those are hers. So she contributed. Yes, yet you removed her from ownership. I had to act fast. Kody barked. Robyn and I were the only ones taking it seriously. The gallery stirred again, shocked murmurs, suppressed outrage. The judge's voice cut through. Mr. Brown, did you use joint family funds income from shared accounts and business ventures to purchase property titled only to yourself and your legal wife? Kody hesitated, then muttered, yes. And just like that, the mask cracked. The confident patriarch of sister wives. The man who once preached unity and fairness was exposed as the architect of deceit. His empire was collapsing in real time. Robyn's head fell into her hands. The weight of the evidence was unbearable. Meri's victory of truth. By the time court adjourned that day, there was no mistaking what had happened. Meri Brown had done what no one believed she ever would. She broke the silence. She walked out of the courthouse to a swarm of cameras and questions. The evening air was cool, the crowd restless. I didn't come here to hurt anyone, she said softly, stopping before the microphones. I came here to stop being erased. Her voice shook, but she didn't break. For too long, we were told to smile and be silent. That's over. This isn't revenge, it's justice. This is about equality, truth, and never letting someone else rewrite your story. Behind her, Janelle stood quietly, nodding. The two women exchanged a look, not of defeat, but of liberation. Together, they walked down the courthouse steps into the blinding camera flashes into a new chapter. Inside the courtroom, the bailiff called the next witness. "Mrs. Robyn Brown, please take the stand." A heavy silence settled once more. Even the faint rustle of papers ceased. Robyn rose slowly, heels clicking against the polished floor. Her face was pale. Her once steady eyes now clouded with fear. Gone was the polished TLC image, the rehearsed charm and soft-spoken poise. As she reached the witness stand, all that remained was a woman cornered by the truth she could no longer avoid. Gone was the serene, smiling Robyn, the gentle favorite wife fans once saw on TLC. In her place sat a woman trembling. Eyes wide, painfully aware that the truth was coming for her. She took her seat, smoothing her long cardigan sleeve with shaking hands. The bailiff stepped forward. "Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "Yes," Robyn whispered. And it began. Her lawyer started gently. "Mrs. Brown, can you tell the court what you believed about how Coyote Pass was meant to be divided?" Robyn nodded slowly. "It was always meant to belong to all of us. One piece each. That's what Kody always said." Her voice cracked. "Did you believe Meri and Janelle owned part of it?" "At first, yes," she said, pausing. "But things changed. Christine left. Meri became distant. Janelle was angry. It felt like I was the only one still trying to make the dream work." "Were you involved in signing the deeds?" "I signed some papers," Robyn replied softly. "But I left all the legalities to Kody." Meri's lawyer rose for cross-examination, and that's when the cracks started showing. "You claim you trusted Kody with legal matters. But isn't it true you were listed as co-owner on at least 3 of the Coyote Pass lots?" "Yes, but I didn't know the others were being left out." "You didn't question it?" "No. Even though you knew the plan was 4-way ownership? I thought they didn't care anymore. So instead of checking, you assumed Dan signed legal documents that put everything in your and your husband's names?" Robyn blinked, her eyes filling with panic. "I was just following orders." The courtroom froze. That phrase hung heavy. "I was just following orders." Then the lawyer pulled out a printed email. "Did you send this note to the property lawyer?" she asked, reading aloud. "We don't want the other wives to make it messy. Better to get it all done before they even notice." Gasps filled the gallery. Robyn went pale. I didn't mean it that way," she stammered. "I meant emotionally messy. I just wanted to stop conflict." The attorney's voice sharpened. "Mrs. Brown, you and your husband executed a property transfer that erased 2 women who helped pay for that land." "I didn't know." Robyn cried. "You signed it. I trusted him." She shouted. Her composure collapsed. "I trusted him." She repeated, voice cracking. "I never meant to hurt anyone. I thought they didn't care anymore." Tears spilled down her cheeks as she covered her mouth, trembling. The judge leaned forward. "Mrs. Brown, we can reassess if you need a moment." Robyn shook her head. "No, I want to say it." The courtroom went silent. "For years," Robyn began through tears, "I've been blamed for everything. The fans hate me. The other wives hate me. I was just trying to protect what little was left of our family. I didn't ask to be the legal wife. I didn't want special treatment." She turned toward Meri, eyes red, face streaked with tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted to take your place." But Meri didn't move. She sat still, calm, unreadable, watching the woman who had taken everything crumble before her. Robyn looked back at the judge. "I signed papers I didn't read. I didn't ask questions. I just trusted him." Meri's lawyer's voice softened, but stayed firm. "Mrs. Brown, intention matters, but so does responsibility. The record shows you benefited from land paid for by the very women you excluded. You co-own 3 lots. You live in the only completed home. Your name is on deeds they helped finance. You didn't object. You didn't correct it. That isn't trust. That's complicity." Robyn broke again, silent tears falling. In the gallery, longtime fans watched in stunned quiet. Many cried. Others nodded grimly, because they recognized that story of women told to stay quiet, to trust, to be small, while others took everything they built. When Robyn stepped down, the judge addressed her directly. "Mrs. Brown, your emotions are understandable, but the court notes your neglect and your benefit from it. Signing away others' rights, whether in ignorance or intent, is serious. There will be repercussions." Robyn nodded faintly and sat beside Kody, who refused to meet her gaze. For the first time in years, the power had shifted. Meri didn't need to win through tears or anger. She had done it through truth. She had taken back her story and her dignity. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. "Meri, do you think Robyn meant to hurt you?" one asked. Meri hesitated, then said softly, "It's not about what she meant. It's about what she did." Weeks passed. Then came the verdict. The courtroom filled again, tense, hushed, expectant. Meri and Janelle sat side by side. Robyn clutched a crumpled tissue. Kody folded his arms, smirking like he still owned the outcome. The judge read slowly. "This court finds that verbal, written, and financial agreements existed between all adult parties in the Coyote Pass purchase. These agreements, though informal, were consistently presented as equal and binding. The plaintiffs, Meri Brown and Janelle Brown, proven their financial and contractual entitlement to joint ownership." The judge continued, voice firm. "It is further found that Mr. Kody Brown, with Mrs. Robyn Brown's assistance, transferred ownership without proper disclosure or compensation. Therefore, the property shall be reappraised. And Meri and Janelle shall be financially reimbursed in equal share, or the land will be sold and divided evenly. 25% each." A stunned silence followed. Then relief justice had been served. Meri didn't celebrate. She simply exhaled as if releasing decades of quiet pain. Janelle squeezed her hand. Across the aisle, Robyn hid her face. Kody turned away. Outside, cameras flashed. Social media exploded. Meri finally got justice. Robyn's tears didn't work this time. Kody can't gaslight his way out of this one. At the press conference later, Meri stood before the microphones. Behind her stood Janelle, proud, unwavering. "I never wanted it to end like this," Meri said quietly. "I gave everything to this family. My time, my loyalty, my silence. But silence doesn't serve justice. And loyalty doesn't mean surrender." She looked into the cameras. "For years, I was told I didn't matter, that my pain wasn't real. But today, I've been heard." The crowd applauded. "I didn't come here to ruin anyone," she added. "I came to reclaim what was mine, and more than that, to reclaim myself." Months later, Meri moved into a small cabin in Utah. Nothing fancy, just peace and ownership. In a live stream, she showed her new home. "This isn't just a house," she smiled. "It's proof that you can begin again from anywhere at any age." Her mug read, "I matter." And truly, she did. The courtroom gave her the land, but the journey gave her freedom. For years, the world saw Meri as desperate, weak, clinging to a man who'd long stopped loving her. But she wasn't weak. She was faithful. And when faith is twisted into control, breaking free isn't betrayal, it's survival. That day, Meri didn't just win a case. She broke the myth. She ended the illusion. She roared and the world finally listened. She roared and the world finally listened.